Shabbos. This week is Parshat Shemini, and in Parshat Shemini there's a celebration of the Chanukas HaMizbeach, of the dedication of the altar. And the Jews are rejoicing in the fact that they finally have established a Mishkan, a tabernacle, the predecessor to the temple, and they're bringing the first offerings. And Vayaronu Kol Ha'am, the people are singing, Vayera Kvar Hashem, the glory of God appears to them. Everything is sounds like it's going beautifully. And then we have the sons of Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, Nadav and Avihu, his two sons, the high priest's sons, and they bring a Eish Zara, a strange fire, some say Ketorah Zara, a strange incense, and they bring it on the altar, and Vateitze Eish Mufnei Hashem, a fire comes out from before God, Vatochel Asam, and it consumes them Vayamusu, Mufnei Hashem, and they perish, they die before God. A tragedy strikes in the middle of the joyous occasion. And the question is that many commentaries ask, what was their sin? What did they do wrong? Before we get to answer that question, we also have this week's Haftarah. And this week's Haftarah has a parallel story. The story is David the king, is bringing the Aron, the ark, which has the tablets, back to Jerusalem. And there's a celebration, and they're bringing it on a wagon. And a fellow named Uzzah, who is the son of Avinadav, starts to reach out to make sure that the ark doesn't fall off the wagon as the wagon got jolted on the road. And it says God strikes him down and kills him. It's a very strange story because he was trying to save the ark from falling. So right away you have to look at there's a certain parallel here. His name was Uzzah, the son of Avinadav. Now the two sons that died in this week's parsha are Nadav and Avihu. Nadav means giving a gift. Avihu means he is the father. And his father's name had both names incorporated, Avi and Nadav. So there's obviously some kind of parallel. And Uzzah's name also means something. Uzzah, Az is strength. Azza is strength. So it says he's showing strength, and he's somebody who is like Nadav and Avihu. And Nadav and Avihu also are the people who give gifts and leaders. They're strong people, and they're incorporating new ideas in the temple ritual, and they're punished for it. So why are they punished? What is really going on? So the rabbis tell us that the problem was that he should not have reached out and tried to save the ark, because the ark is a power unto itself. And it says the Aron is noseas nosav. It carries the ones who are carrying it. Even though it appears that usually here it's on a wagon, but usually there would be four men carrying them carrying the ark on their shoulders. Even though they appear to be carrying the ark, it's really the ark which is carrying them. It's a miracle that's really lifting them up. But it's more than just the miracle. There's a symbolic message here. And the message, I think, is quite clear. And this goes back to the question of why Nadav and Avihu died. Because one of the reasons given for Nadav and Avihu's death is that they were Mora Halacha Lefnei Rabba. They taught a law in front of their teacher. Now, they were standing in front of Moshe, and what they did is they tried to incorporate a new Ketoris incense that would be brought on the altar, and they brought it fire. And again, we're not going to get into the details of the law, but what they were doing was actually correct. The problem was that they were doing it before it was taught from Moshe. They thought they knew best, and therefore they were introducing something before the Torah or Moshe, the Navi, the prophet, actually instructed them. So what it's really saying is that when it comes to the rules, who makes the rules? We might even know which rules are correct. We might have insight, we might have intuition as to what's the correct way of doing things, as Nadav and Avihu did. But still you have to wait for the rules to be passed on. Because the problem is when you make your own rules, you think you're in charge. You think it's you who are doing it, and then it ends up getting corrupted because you feel that you have the power. So it's the same thing that's happening with the ark here. His name is Uzzah. He's strong. He's the son of Avinadav. He has all of those same qualities that Nadav and Avihu had. But his problem is that he doesn't realize that the Aron is noseas nosav, that the ark is carrying him rather than he's carrying the ark. And we find this also later in the Haftorah. It says that later on, David now takes the ark and he takes it into his own town. And when he does so, he dances somewhat without respect for himself. And his wife, Michal, the daughter of Saul, the first king, who's his wife, is very upset with him, and she talks to him condescendingly, like you're acting like somebody who has no kavod, no honor, no respect for oneself. You're dancing just loosely in the streets in front of all of the people. Why are you dancing that way? And David answers her, and he says, no, just the opposite. I would do this no matter, I would debase myself even more, because I am doing it for the kavod, for the honor, for the glory of the ark, the glory of God. That's really what's important. And therefore, I think the message is, I don't see that the kavod, the honor, the respect is coming to me as the king, but rather the way I get respect is by giving respect to the ark. And therefore, I am not the one who makes the rules, I'm the one who follows the rules. And therefore, there's a Mishnah actually in Pirkei Avos, in the Ethics of Our Fathers, it says that Ezehu mechubad, who is considered honored, hamachabed es abrius, somebody who honors other people. It's the one who honors other people that gets respect, that earns respect. It's not because that you know what to do, that you're in charge, that it's your ego driving events. That's what David was really, the message that David was telling Michal, and exactly why he's the king rather than Saul, who was his father-in-law. Michal was the daughter of Saul. Saul really made a mistake in that he was worried about his own honor, and at another time when he was supposed to kill the nation of Amalek and kill the king Agag, he failed to follow through on that which he was ordered to do and commanded to do by God and by the Navi, by Samuel the prophet. And why? Possibly because he was worried about his own kavod, his own honor. He was worried that the people wanted to respect him. If he'd walk in with the enemy king that he had captured, that would give him respect. So he decided what was the right thing to do rather than following the rules that were given to him. That was Saul's failure in life. And that's exactly why David, who acted more as an anav, more as a humble person, he acted with humility. That's exactly why he was chosen king and why he was successful as a king. And it could be that really this is true for all of us and all of our rules and how we lead our life, specifically as Jews. When you look at the Torah later on in the Parsha, in this week's portion, it also talks about the laws of kashrus, what animals you're allowed to eat and what animals you're not allowed to eat. And commentaries and scholars have been trying to understand the rules of kashrus for centuries, and they've given numerous types of explanations. At the end of the day, no one really knows what the reasons are. And the reason we have to do it is we have to do it because we follow the command of the Torah. And in a sense, it's the same lesson. We might think we know better what we should eat, what our diet should contain, what it shouldn't, whether eating pork is unhealthy, whether eating milk and meat has a problem, maybe it causes indigestion or something of that nature, but we don't do it for that reason. We do it because the Torah tells us. And there's a very famous statement made by Achad Ha'am, who is one of he established the idea of cultural Zionism before the state of Israel. And he said that more than the Jews keep Shabbos, Shabbos keeps the Jews. And what he was really saying was that we think that we're doing it and we're so proud of ourselves for keeping Shabbos and we follow the rules, but it's not just us following the rules. That's important. But the rules that we keep help keep us who we are. As when you follow somebody else's rules, when you understand that you have to have an authority figure that you follow, whether it's a leader, a teacher, a parent, the Torah, God, a prophet, that's what makes sure that although you might be insightful, although you might have a lot of great ideas, that it doesn't get to you, and you don't grow your own ego and forget what life is all about. And I suppose that's what the message here in all of these stories are, and all of these rules are, that rules are there for two reasons. There obviously is some idea behind it, some concept that creates correct beliefs that might keep us healthy, but it also establishes within us a certain adherence to rules. And that ability to keep to rules and to make sure that we follow a certain structure makes sure that we don't let our egos get in the way of our life, but rather that our life is there to be machabed esabrius, to give covet, to give honor to other people, to God, to Torah, to leaders, to community, to family. That's what's really important. And I'd just like to end on one note. Today, sadly, was the funeral of Harvey David, who was a member of the shul for many, many years. And sadly, there weren't that many people because of COVID that were able to partake in the funeral and really share with the family and let the family share with them what Harvey was all about. I'll just want to pick on one point that was mentioned by one of his daughters, is that he would tie your shoe before he tied his own shoe. That's exactly what that Mishnah says. Ezehu mechubed, who is honored? Someone who is mechabed esabrius, who honors other people. Someone who has a sense of humility, that life is not about you. Life is about the other people in your life. And if you give honor to others, if you respect others, if you make the focus of your life other people, then that's what gives you covet. That's what gives you honor. That's what earns you respect within a community. And therefore, when Nadav and Avihu had the right idea, and it's important to have people like that. And therefore, as Moshe goes on to say, B'krovai HaKadosh, by those that are close to God, he sanctifies their name. They weren't bad people, but they have to sometimes realize that you have to follow the rules. You have to follow authority. You have to make sure it's not your ego. And that's the message of this week's portion. It's the message of the Haftarah. And I think it's an important message for all of us, that sometimes we think we're the ones who are running the show. And we're the ones who are carrying the ark. We're the ones who make sure that Judaism survives, that our community is well established. But really, it's the opposite. By doing these things, this is what keeps us part of a tradition. This is what keeps us within the Jewish, keeps our Jewish culture, our Jewish norms, and it allows the Jewish society to survive. And hopefully, we all could look at this week's portion and learn this very important lesson. And the lesson from people like Harvey David and others, that if we go through life with a sense of humility, then we actually become people who have earned the title of having covet, of having honor and respect. Good Shabbos.